freedom days with your kids, go and visit them at school. That's awesome, right? Now, for the people that have no idea who I am, these are just, some people that have kind of talked about me. So if you're looking to get some knowledge in terms of niche selection, and if I know what the heck I'm talking about, the only reason I like to share this is because you guys might have heard about me or been referred to this training specifically because you're like, somebody referred you, right? But this is just someone saying that, hey, they kind of learned from me. And the legend is true. So if you guys have heard about me and don't know who I am, the legends that people or what people talk about, the legend is true, right? I know I'm a little bit of a goofball. Hopefully you can bear with me. But this is a buddy of mine, Devin, who's kind of sat on one of these master classes, took what he's learned from here, applied it, has been able to see some success. This is another guy, Kellen, who's just like, hey, being around me has helped him save months of trial and error off building his business. This is someone else that's a part of our community, CC. She's got orders coming in of, $7,000 on a consistent basis. So if you guys are wondering, hey, does this stuff that Ernest is talking about like truly applicable? For me personally, when I look to learn from someone, I don't like to learn from them on like necessarily what they can do, but how can they help other people, right? Are other people actually seeing results, right? This is another buddy of mine, Lucas, who I got an opportunity to mentor. And for you guys wondering about profit margins, and this is why I love U.S. suppliers, because you can still get the same type of margin if you were drop shipping from China. But, obviously you can make way more profit, $3,500 in sales for one day, 50% profit, like $1,700 take home. That's pretty decent, right? And also, if you're someone that's wondering like, hey, are these strategies applicable potentially in the country that I'm in? All right. This is a buddy of mine, Bernard, who literally took the same processes in what I teach for high ticket ecom and applied it in the Philippine marketplace. All right. So yes, you can take the same exact stuff that I'm teaching here strategically in this market in the US and apply that stuff in the country that you're in. Now, here's the thing. It wasn't easy for Bernard. It wasn't like it happened overnight. Literally, it took him a couple months to kind of put this stuff together. And I know someone looking at this right now is like, is that $1.1 million in a month? Well, that's pesos, okay? So that's not like US dollars. I think US, that's like $20,000, which is still a lot, especially in this market. Like in this market, like 20 grand, like the average person makes like $280 per month. So you do $20,000 US, like you are cooking, right? But I just share this with you guys because I want you to know like what we're going to cover, you can apply in your country. But the thing is that's going to take some work. It's going to take some long nights. You're going to like feel, challenged. But you can if you don't want to specifically drop ship in the US. Now, here's the other side to that too. If you're outside the US and you want to sell in the US, yes, we have people in my community that are actively learning how to be able to do that. You can take and not have to physically come here. David started his business while he's in Australia, got everything registered in the US, working with US suppliers, and he was able to launch. And this was actually the first couple of days of him launching his high ticket ecom business, $10,000 in sales, right? So it's totally worth it. Launching a business outside the US. In the US, does it take a little bit longer to get set up? Yes. Is it a little bit more costly? Yes. But it is totally worth it from a long-term perspective to be able to manage a business, have a business running here, and never have to physically be here, right? So here's the scoop, right? Looking back at everything and obviously being able to produce ecom stores that are now going to have the ability to bring in millions, right? I know there's shortcuts to ecom, right? Like you can go to Alibaba, you can use AliExpress, you can sell crap products, you can do retail arbitrage, drop ship from Walmart or Home Depot, silly stuff like that. And I know you can make money doing that stuff, and that's an okay strategy, right? So if you enjoy long shipping times, no repeat customers, tons of customer service, chargebacks, losing your merchant center accounts, like if you guys have been following some of the stuff that's going in my group, like a lot of people are dealing with a bunch of this stuff because of the strategies that they're using. I don't like dealing with those headaches. Don't do that to yourself, in my personal opinion. Yes, it's going to take a little bit of work, more work on the front end just to kind of get the store up and going, talk with real suppliers, but it is totally worth it because you don't run into these same exact issues that you see here. And so looking back at the entire e-commerce industry, what I've discovered is that the quickest way to having massive success is drop shipping high ticket products, right? So this is a screenshot specifically for one of the suppliers that I work with. And yeah, I blocked out the products because I don't want to give you guys everything, right? But you can see here with these orders in particular, like a $7,800 sale, like here's my margin. It's not 50%. It's roughly 45%. Shipping cost is probably $200. Actually, more specifically, I know for a fact, and I was going to share the screenshot with you guys too from my VA, but the $4,500 sale that you guys see me post earlier today, that sale with shipping plus an upgraded shipping service, which is referred to as white glove delivery, and wholesale costs. We got the sale at $4,500. All that stuff included was $3,100 that we paid, right? So we made $1,400. Well, after the processing fee, it was like that was almost $100. So we made $1,300 from one order profit. And the acquisition cost on that, I want to say that person converted within their first 2 or 3 visits, and I probably paid like, I don't know, $4 or $5 for that conversion, right? So that's the type of stuff that you have the ability to look at on the other side of like high ticket e-com, and why I believe that you should spend more of your time, energy, and effort trying to sell stuff like this versus like a lot of low ticket stuff, right? But here's the thing: there's an actual higher ticket than high ticket products. Someone's like, what the heck is he talking about? Right? So the higher ticket is actually having a system, right? Like, that is the core competency of every single major business that you guys have out here, right? Like if you look at any major company, corporation, they have multiple locations, they have, potentially like multiple businesses in their portfolio, and they systematize everything. So when they know they launch something else, that they could get the same predictable, duplicatable results. So what am I talking about in terms of like e-commerce, right? So the thing is, I'm going to show you guys as we start to progress through the content. Like, I'm going to show you guys how to have days like this. I'm going to show you guys how to actually sell thousands of dollars worth of products, per transaction, with consistent sales and stuff coming in. I'm going to show you guys how to do this, right? But again, I want to share with you guys the highest ticket of them all, which is and exactly what the high ticket e-com secret system actually means. So if you're taking notes, here's what I want you guys to do, right? I want you to write down 4 S's, right? All right, follow along with me. I gave you a little bit of time to do that. Write down an S, put an underline S, underline S, underline S, underline, okay? And I'm gonna cover exactly what these 4 acronyms actually mean, right? And it's in alignment to what we just talked about, which is a simple, systematic sales system, all right? So again, simple, systematic sales system. So if you guys, and it says 3 letters at the top, that's a little typo. But if you guys, whatever it is that you're doing, and even if whether you're doing e-com right now, not doing e-com, like inevitably you need to systemize everything that you're doing. So again, systematic, you need to develop a sales system along with that so you can start to emulate and duplicate that process out, especially when you're starting to scale the business, right? So here's what I want everybody to do. I want everyone to put on their e-com CEO thinking hat so I can break this down for you guys, specifically your high ticket e-com CEO thinking cap. So what I want you guys to do is put an e-com CEO in the chat box, and I need at least 10 responses so we can keep moving forward. But I don't get at least 10. We got over 80 people on with it. I got to get at least 10. So put it in the chat box, e-com CEO. I want to see at least 10 responses. All right. E-com CEO thinking cap. All right, cool. A bunch of people putting the thinking cap in there too. That's what I'm talking about. Someone said hashtag e-com CEO. All right, that's what I'm talking about. So let's go ahead and keep progressing, right? Then we got a bunch of responses. So here's the thing. We already kind of talked about the core concept in terms of like looking at different types of products to sell, right? But have you guys actually like broken down the numbers to actually see what is required in order to actually do $1 million a year? Now, again, I'm just using the million, just a simple math. I know a couple of you guys, mentioned how you don't necessarily want to do that much with the business, which is totally fine. So I'm not ever trying to pressure anybody to do that. But I looked at the math of like, hey, if I sold products that were at a $10 price point, I would have to sell 100,000 of those products, right, to get to $1 million, versus if I focused on products that were an average price point of $1,000, right, it would only take me 1,000 units to actually make that a reality, right? So again, it takes the same effort. If you guys don't know and you haven't been on the other side of actually building a business, like whether you sell a $10 product or $1,000 product, you got to build a website, you got to get suppliers, you have to do fulfillment, you got to make sure the product gets to the customer, you got to learn how to do advertising. We do the same exact stuff selling $1,000 products as you do selling $10 products. The only difference is, as you guys have kind of seen a little bit more, is that you have the ability to make more profit. Even if you had the same profit margins, let's just say 10%. 10% on $10 is $1. 10% of 1,000 is 100, right? Again, I'm not trying to overcomplicate this thing, right? So today's core competency of what we're going to cover are these 4 processes, right? How to be able to find products that are actively selling in the marketplace, how to be able to find your target market, how to be able to find suppliers that are dropship friendly, and how to get good quality traffic and get paid, okay? So that's what we're going to get into here shortly. But with your ecom CEO thinking cap, here's what I want you guys to understand. Once you understand this, you systematize it, and you have a sales system because you have understood the process of building a business. And again, I'm doing very, very simple numbers for you guys, right? So this particular business, a couple of people say, hey, I want to hit $500,000 a year with my ecom business, right? And conservative margins with that, you should be able to do roughly between $100,000 to $140,000 profit. Again, very conservative, right? So just by systematizing this and duplicating it out across, even if you guys opened up 4 different ecom stores, because now you understand the game, you could easily go from 500,000 to now over $2 million with just having a simple system behind that, right? So let's actually share with you guys like an example. This is one of the guys in my community, Kevin, who literally put this stuff to work. Like, he has multiple ecom stores that he's running. One store he has in particular is cranking out over $100,000 per month. And we've been able to do a ton of different stuff with Kevin to help him, create massive success. But here's the other thing that you guys can do in ecom. We talked about asset building, right? I don't ever teach you guys something without giving you the full context. So one of the things we did is we actually helped him liquidate one of his ecom stores. Like exactly what I teach, like textbook across the board. There's literally dozens of people in my community I'm helping to do this, right? So when we did that, right, we took one of his stores, and not his store that's producing the most amount of cash flow. And again, that's all contingent upon what you want to do. We just took one of his stores that was just doing $1,000 a month profit, right? One small store that's just doing $1,000 a month in profit. And we were able to get him an 18x multiple on that store, right? If you're drop shipping from China without having good quality fulfillment, and you don't have a relationship with your suppliers, and they're not super duper reliable, you cannot be able to see this level of multiple, right? And a lot of people think that this is something that's unbelievable, right? I actually had one guy post in a group once where he was just like, that's impossible, that's fake, that's a scam, you can't do that. I was like, bro, only reason you can't do it is because you don't know how to, you don't have the network, and you don't have someone that can literally guide you through the process, right? So this is me and Kevin just kind of talking on Facebook Messenger. Sometimes pretty decent sized deals kind of happen on Facebook. But boom, you can see like the wire sent here, to his actual bank account for the actual store that we helped him sell, right? This is another one of my students, clients of mine that we connected like a few years ago, right? And first and foremost, of getting his e-commerce journey started, he needed help learning how to actually get the business working correctly, right? So this is just a message he sent me on Skype after our session. This is after about 1 month. He was like, I helped him double his net profit, right? Or his net profit tripled, doubled his conversion rates as a result of us kind of working one-on-one together, right? But here's the cool thing. What did that look like in actual numbers? This is what it translated into: $500,000 in sales, right? And absolutely crushed it going through Black Friday weekend. But also, guess what we did? We ended up taking 2 of his stores that he built out, and I helped him make $100,000 in profit. This is on top of, guys, this is on top of the cash flow that he was bringing in with the stores that he was running. Now, again, some people ask, why am I showing a wire transfer? I want you guys to understand, when you follow me, you're not following someone that's just throwing out pie in the sky. This is stuff that's actually going down on the daily, monthly basis in Ernest's world, and he is helping other people do this actively on an ongoing basis, right? So can anybody use an extra 100K in their bank account within the next 12 months? Like just profit, boom. Would you guys want me to wire you an extra 100K? Would that be okay? Would that help anybody out directly from my bank account? Let's see here. We got a couple of comments saying, yes, me. I know, right? I want another 100K myself, right? But that's what we're talking about, right? But let's get to the core competencies. Let's actually hop into the training for today to really make sure you guys are set up for success, right? So the first thing we're going to cover is how to be able to identify the hottest high-ticket e-com products to sell, and how to market to those people that are actively looking for the product. So that is super duper key. Like, we want to get in front of people that are looking for the products, not people that we have to do a whole lot of heavy lifting, right? And then I'm going to walk you guys through exactly the fastest way to sell $1,000 plus products and make money right now and for years to come. And third is I'm going to actually give you guys the ability to get private access to my program called High Ticket Ecom Secrets, right? This is my 8-step success system to literally walk you guys through setting up a high ticket ecom business, and my step-by-step guide to literally put you in a position, whether you're a beginner and or advanced e-commerce person, you will get a ton of value out of that because you don't have to guess about what's the next things to do or have any additional support. I'll walk you through that step by step. All right. So if you guys haven't done so already, I've talked to you guys about taking notes and things of that nature. Grab a pen, grab a pad, because you guys are going to be excited to do so. While you guys do that, I'm going to take a sip of water so we can actually hop into the core training. All right. Sweet. So let's get it rocking. All right. So real quick, bear with me for about 60 seconds for new people. Okay. Some people don't know what the drop shipping model is. Okay. Just bear with me. I know somebody listening to this is like, man, Ernest, I don't want to hear this, but give me a couple seconds. All right. If you've never understood like the model of drop shipping, okay, which again is just a fulfillment strategy. If you don't know that, you have a website, you drive people to your website, right? Because you have relationships with suppliers and you have accounts set up, when you forward the orders to your supplier, number one, you're going to pay wholesale prices. So you guys remember that screenshot that I shared with you from my supplier with like, you know, my to the left side was like the retail price, right side was the wholesale price, right? So I pay wholesale. I sell it for $8,000, I pay $4,500, and then the supplier, they take that $4,500, I keep the difference of that, and that's my profit. The supplier forwards the order directly to the customer, and you just rinse and repeat that process. So that's how the model actually works. If you're someone that likes the traditional definition of drop shipping, this is what it is, right? It's a supply chain management method, okay? So here's the thing. You guys aren't drop shippers. Get that out of your mind, please. I hate when people say that. Oh, you're a drop shipper. No, the business that you're in is retail, okay? You're in the retail business. What is the retail business? That means that you find products at wholesale and then you mark them up to retail to sell to the marketplace, right? That's the business that you're in. Drop shipping in and of itself is all of this is a fulfillment strategy. And or if you actually do research on it, specifically, it's a supply chain management method, right? Which you don't hold goods in stock. You transfer your customer orders and shipment details, either manufacturer, retailer, another wholesaler who then ships the goods directly to the customer. All right. So for those people out there that are just like, Ernest, what are the simple things about drop shipping? Here's what it means. It means you have no inventory. You don't have to pay for products until you get the order. So one of the things I get from people sometimes is, Ernest, what if I get a $4,000 sale and I don't have, the $2,500 for the wholesale cost to pay for it? All you have to do is if the order came through Stripe, then Stripe deposits the money into your bank account in 2 business days. If you use PayPal, the money deposits into your account same day, right? So now you got a $4,000 sale. You got a wholesale cost of $2,500. You literally take the profit from the customer and you use their money to now put the order in. That's it, right? So you can wait till the money hits your account until you actually process it, right? It also means low to no overhead and trading money for money, which essentially means learning how to master advertising. So just like I shared with you guys earlier, like you spend 400 and make 40,000. Now I'm not saying everybody's going to be able to do that, but you have the ability to be able to learn how to do that with what I'm going to cover as we start to get towards the end of today, right? So a couple other questions, because I know we got some other people on that's super duper brand new, but how much does it cost to get started? I recommend anywhere from $300 to $1,000, right? You can get started with way less. You can get started with way more. What does that cost break down to? It breaks down to like the $29 Shopify fee. It breaks down to registering your business, and it breaks down to just having a little bit of money to go towards ads. But contrary to belief, you don't have to have an immense amount of money to actually get started, which leads into like, the second thing, how much do I need for ads? If you literally have just $25, that's enough to get started. Right? If you have more, like I'm saying, it's definitely way better to have more. But if you don't stress yourself out about it. You can get a Google Ads credit to be able to run ads on Google. You can also get an advertising credit for Bing, run ads on Bing. You can get almost $200 worth of credits to be able to run ads and use that money to get your first couple sales, right? You get those first couple sales, you take the profit from that, don't spend it, and you just put it back into the business. And that's literally all I did, right? If you don't have money to purchase the inventory, we already talked about that. Use the customer's money once the order comes in. Boom, buy the product afterwards. Is the market saturated? I almost really just want to giggle when people ask me about that. That's just crazy and ludicrous to think about. Is e-commerce saturated? Is the market saturated? No, absolutely not. E-commerce, if you actually study, e-commerce isn't even 30 or 40% of how people even buy stuff nowadays. The upside and potential of e-commerce and drop shipping is absolutely out of control, right? So the only people that ask that question really is like people that just don't understand. So hopefully by the end of today, you guys will really feel confident about that and understand, right? What do margins look like? Here's the thing. You guys have seen some margins for me. Heard people that's in my community talk about margins. But here's the thing. In drop shipping, typically on average, you're going to see about a 20 to 30% profit margin. All right. Again, that's on average, 20 to 30%. Can you see a whole lot more? Absolutely. Can you see a little bit less? Absolutely, right? Depends on your relationships with your suppliers and how you kind of manage those relationships. How much does it cost to acquire a customer? Now, I'm going to share with you guys specifically in one of my accounts really quick what that looks like. But specifically from my experience in the world of high ticket e-com, generally on average, you're going to pay anywhere on the low end, $20 to about $40 to acquire a customer, right? So again, that's just average across the board from what I've seen in my experience. That's typically how much it'll pay to acquire a customer. So if you start getting a significantly higher than that, like $100, $200, there's definitely some things you got to improve. But the great thing is, hey, you acquire a customer for $40, even if you got, you sell a $500 product and you got 20%, profit margin on that, you got $100 in profit in, after advertising costs is $60 that you take home, right? But inside of my ad account explicitly, right, we can see, again, for the same week that I shared with you guys earlier on, you can see here cost per conversion, $16.34, right? So what did I do specifically for this? And actually, this is just 1 week. This isn't even a month. It's just 1 week, right? This 1 week in particular, just from Google, this is inside of my analytics account right now. There was, every time I spent $16, right? Again, a little bit below what I told you guys about, but $16, I made $2,500. This is inside of my Google Analytics account. You can't fake this, right? So you guys can see here, right? Specifically, what is that? 10 conversions, cost per conversion. Boom, that's right there. And then boom, what that translated into. So that's why I love high ticket e-com, even though the conversion rate isn't super duper sexy. But again, in high ticket e-com, if you're taking notes, this is just a little side note. The average e-commerce conversion rate for a high ticket store is about 0.5%. So that's just a little side note. All right. So let's roll up our sleeves. Let's get into the training because actually I got a ton of stuff to do later today too. Because if you guys didn't know, this is just a little side note. I'm going to Israel tomorrow. So I'm here to rock things out with you guys. But let's get into like the core training to cover everything. All right. So let's talk about finding products that are actively selling in the marketplace. So if you're taking notes, here's what I want you guys to write down. You got 3 objectives, okay? Essentially, this is phase 1, all right? Number 1, you got to build a list of products to actually do research on, all right? Number 2, we want to identify what the average market value is for those products. And number 3, we want to determine if the products are in demand. So I'm not sure who it is that you guys follow or what the case is, but like you can actually see how many people are actively looking for what you want to sell long before you even make the decision to want to sell it. And to me personally, that trumps everything else, and everything about the business is built around that, right? So again, these are your 3 objectives through this beginning process of doing market research and niche selection, right? So our number 1 goal in niche research is to find products that are already in demand in the marketplace. You shouldn't be trying to, in my personal opinion, just getting started, trying to find like the new thing or what's the next coming trend. Now, obviously, there's strategic ways to be able to do that. Personally, that's not my skill set. My skill set is finding stuff that's already in demand, stuff that has moderate to low competition, and then putting that stuff in front of people that already want it because I don't have to do a whole lot of heavy lifting when that happens, right? Now, is there anybody here that wants to work smarter and not harder? Is there anybody here that wants to work smarter? Put smarter in the chat box if that's you. Anybody want to work smarter? Anybody here that's like, hey, Ernest, like, show me some things to do to get through this process so I can like get on to the next thing of making money? So I see there's a couple people. I didn't pull up the chat box specifically, but I see there's a bunch of people raising their hands and chatting. Cool. So I got this cute little cliche I have here, right? And some people might like it. Some people might say, Ernest, you're a weirdo. But in my opinion, it's so true, right? What is near that I hold dear brings the market cheer. And I'm going to say it again just because I like saying it out loud. What is near that I hold dear brings the market cheer. So what the heck does that mean, right? That means that in the beginning phase of kind of what to do research on, like before you even turn to some of the resources that I'm going to share with you guys, like start with some of the stuff that you actually are aware of. Like what are things that you have bought in your house, right? Even if you're renting or even if you're like, maybe like if you're a college kid, like with your buddies, right? Like what's in your apartment? Like, what have you, like, what's at your home, at your grandma's house? What have you bought for your car? What's in your car, on your car? What's at your family's house? Have you played any sports? I mean, like, all these different things I've been able to personally see people and help people actively build niches around the stuff that they actually like and are familiar with. Now, me personally, I don't necessarily like to focus on stuff that I'm super duper familiar with. My job is to go out and see like how many people are actively like kind of looking for the stuff. But start there with the fundamentals. Next, a couple other resources, right? Like literally just like if you're kind of like lost in the sauce of like what you could be potentially doing research on, like, get out into the market, like, see what's on display at big box retailers. Like, I'm not saying that you're going to sell the same exact thing that's in Home Depot or Lowe's, but like go around the store and like see that stuff that's in there, because if it's in there for a reason, because people actually sell it. Like that product that's on display is taking up space because somebody is going to potentially buy it. If there was no potential for it to be sold, then it wouldn't be in there, right? If you're looking for specific like online resources, like even just going to Craigslist in the for sale section, seeing what's being listed there. One of the favorite places I like to go to right now is Facebook groups, right? Like for sale Facebook groups specifically. And that's actually kind of what I'm gonna cover here on the next slide. Like specifically, one of the hottest places I like to go, just like every day, I just browse through my phone, is the Facebook Marketplace. So if you're on desktop specifically, this is what it looks like, right? Now the thing is, again, I'm not going here to buy anything. I'm not going here to necessarily like look at like what I'm going to get for Christmas or nothing. But the cool thing about here is that you can see and find other products that people had owned at some point and that they're actually selling, right? And obviously, when you sell something that's used, if it's not listed as new, like this Murphy bed right here is something that's new. Number one, I didn't even know what this was. When I seen it, I was like, what the heck is that? Like, people buy like beds that like can go into the wall? Like, that's crazy. I never grew up with nothing like that. And that's why I kind of like market research and product research too, as well. Cause like you get to find out stuff that like you didn't even know about, or like, a poker table. Like people buy poker tables, like, deli equipment. I mean, like all these different things, like holy moly, like there's a lot of people that have possibly owned this at some point. And then you can reverse engineer the other process of like finding out like what the demographic of the people are that are actively looking for this stuff, how many people are actively looking for it on a monthly basis, so forth and so on. But the thing is that you don't have to know what's already hot or out in the marketplace, when you can just find other people that are listing stuff that they own or had a passion about, and then kind of move forward from there, right? One of the other things is like your Facebook timeline. Like I'm constantly paying attention to the stuff that people post. Like I had a buddy of mine, Rohan, who I actually know is a super duper successful entrepreneur. And he shared this from like a friend of his. And I didn't really care about the post, but I seen it was just like a bunch of different products I was super duper unfamiliar with, right? Aside from the whiteboard, I was just like, bro, like what is this like chair set thing that you got sitting off to the left? He's like, oh, it's an ergonomic chair set. I'm like, ergo who? Right? I'm like, I didn't grow up with this. This wasn't in my office when I worked full time. Like none of that. Like this is a modern couch. It's a cowhide rug, a wood stove. I mean, like random things that like I had no idea was available that people are actively looking for on a monthly basis, that literally popped up, as a result of a friend sharing stuff. And this just goes to loop in like the Facebook marketplace. Now, I'm not saying go here to market, advertise, or list your products or nothing like that. I'm solely talking about this from a product research perspective. But a buddy of mine, Ron, posted that he was selling this set here. It's actually called a wicker furniture set. These actually run anywhere from like $800 to $1,200. And again, this is a product I had no working knowledge about or knew that existed. But he said that he sold the product within like an hour of it being listed. Now, if anybody sells something that's high end within like a little bit of time, like on the internet, like as a post, like that's probably something that you should check out and do some research on, right? And so this last one I'm going to share with you guys is crazy awesome. I mean, and again, this isn't something that you have to have or have to pay for. I didn't even know this thing existed until 2017 when I got invited to speak in Bali. But this was a complete, just like, wow, I can't believe it. Like, you guys want to know what it is? Some of you guys have actually been on this training. Now, I've only ever shared this resource, I think, I want to say maybe 5 times so far, and I've only ever done it on an actual live masterclass. So if you guys have never been on, you guys have never heard me talk about this resource. Would you guys be okay? Someone said, thanks for your generosity. All right, cool. Let me actually share with you guys what it is. It's Amazon Movers and Shakers, okay? Now, again, I didn't know this existed. Maybe you guys might have known. I didn't find out about this resource until I was in Bali, Indonesia. It took me going all the way to Indonesia to be able to learn about this thing, right? So what is this? This is an actual this is actually built in on Amazon. Like, it's not listed on their public site. In order to actually get to it, you literally have to go to Google and type in Amazon movers and shakers. So what this is, it's a portal that will show you the top selling products in every major category on Amazon. Like, every category. Now, again, some of the products we see here is some like low ticket stuff. These are books to the video game. So this is just kind of like a screenshot that I just took from a high level perspective. But again, if you're someone that's just like, hey, what is like, you could say, if you're someone that's like wants to stick in like your particular stuff that you like, but again, I don't really necessarily think that you have to. But if you're someone that's like, hey, I want to know what the top products, like anything that ends up on movers and shakers, you can know without a doubt is a multiple six figure, if not seven figure a year product, right? So again, you can click any category, kitchen and dining. You can go sports and outdoors if you're a sports person. If you're a mom, you can see what's hot in the baby section. Let me go do research on that stuff. But the great thing about this too as well is it updates every 24 hours, right? So every 24 hours, like products are circulating and showing you the best stuff. So if you guys are like, with all, I don't necessarily mean this as a bad thing, but if you're lazy and you're like, I don't necessarily want to go out and do product research a whole lot, you can literally just go here and check every day and see what stuff is like circulating, what's hot, what's not. And the cool thing is I'm just sharing this with you guys. I'm not talking about this from a public perspective. So, this kind of give you a leg up on your competitors that don't know this exists, right? So let's talk about some additional like market research. How do we find the average market value of the products that we want to sell? Now, we're going to use Google Shopping in order to do this. Now, specifically, if you're outside the US, you need to get what's referred to as a VPN, stands for virtual private network. I don't want to go into all the ins and outs of it, but just get that if you're looking to sell in the US, but you're outside the US. The next tool you're going to need is a tool called Keywords Everywhere. All right. And I'm explaining that here shortly and what we're going to do with that. But for specifically on the shopping section, what we're going to do is we're going to go to Google, we're going to enter in our product, and then we're going to click on the shopping section, and we're going to review the left-hand column to actually see what Google's telling us is what most people are paying for the products in the market, right? And then lastly, we're going to review like the product listing ads and then write down what the average market value is for the product, right? So here's a live example of me just kind of doing this with electric fireplaces. Some of you guys may be familiar with this already, some not. But again, you can see here on the left-hand side. Now, the thing is, what I've seen from my experience, the average price point that most people pay are generally broken down to like the second and third column or category rather on Google, so they could better like kind of like segment everything out, right? And along with that, what you can do is you can actually just see like what are the products that's Google showing me, because Google's going to show you when you put in the actual niche that you're doing research on, the top selling products. Their goal is to get clicks for products that are actually selling that are hot. So they're going to show you like all the things that people are buying in that particular market. And so you can clearly see what the average price point is. So even if like you see like a big gap, maybe this was like 500 to 1,000 or 1,000 to 2,000, most of the time, if you just look through like the actual listings and stuff there, you'll be able to see what the average price point is and not have to really guess about it, right? So again, if you're taking notes, you could obviously jot down here. We're not going to stay here long, but the reason why we do that specifically is obviously you want to know what people are already spending for the products that you want to sell long before you have to sell them. Wouldn't that be a smart thing to do? It's funny how most people don't talk about that. I knew that was a critical thing in me personally, just because a little bit of my marketing background, right? It's like that intuitively was like, hey, Ernest, you should probably do some additional research on stuff before you actually decide to dive into anything. So that's why we do that. But more importantly to me, in regards to like high ticket ecom, is that I want to know like what would be the average type of profit that I would get, right? So if I got a $500 product and I know my average margin is between 20 to 30%, clearly, like, I want to try to stay within like things that are going to be a little bit higher in terms of like the average price point. So like $300, $500, like stuff like that, obviously creeping up to like 1,000 if possible, depending on like, how I feel about the products, right? So lastly, how do we identify if the products are in demand? There's a tool like I mentioned already. It's called Keywords Everywhere. It's a free Google Chrome extension. You can download it. And what this tool will do is it'll tell you how many people are going to Google every single month and looking for the products you want to sell. Right? So again, critical step of the process, knowing how many people are actively looking for the products long before you have to even sell them, right? So again, just using the example of electric fireplaces, if we were doing that, you would see with this tool, after you have it downloaded, it show you the search volume right underneath the search bar. And there's 200,000 people looking for electric fireplaces every single month. 200,000. Now, again, guys, listen, like if you're not that confident about ecom and you were looking to sell something that's 200,000 people, the average price point is $500. Like, don't you like, I mean, really, like in your heart of hearts, don't you really believe you can probably get 1% of that audience? I mean, 1% of like 200,000 is like, what is that? That's like 2,000, isn't it? Yeah, it's like 2,000. 1% of like 200,000, it's like 2,000 people like to your site, right? And you got like a 0.5% conversion rate. Like that's a few sales. Like that's a couple $1,000s in profit. I mean, it's a real simple like process when you guys have the right tools to give you this information. And then the cool thing I love about Keywords Everywhere is it'll also give you other niches and ideas that you might not have thought about, right? And if you're looking at, let's say, and now I'm talking to like some of my more advanced, or if you're already launched type of person, like if you're wondering, like, man, what else do people buy with electric fireplace? Hello, stop trying to guess, man. Use the right tools. Like you can sell electric fireplace inserts. You can sell, if you're looking for a different niche, maybe you don't want to sell electric fireplaces, maybe electric fireplace TV stands. Like there's 40,000 people looking for an electric fireplace TV stand. Like that's crazy. Like I didn't even know that existed, right? And I still wouldn't know if it wasn't for this tool that gave me the information. So now I can go out and do research on it, right? Like you guys are working way too hard out here. I'm just using tools and making decisions based off data. So if someone's wondering like how much search volume do I want to see to feel confident about the niche I want to go into, personally for me, the minimum is 10,000 searches per month with that particular niche. But my goal is to get to 20,000 and up, right? Obviously, the more the better, but if there's a minimum of 20,000 people per month, I know on the other side of that confidently that could translate into, you know, a six-figure or more business. Because I know, like, you know, with marketing, advertising, stuff like that, you can clean up a pretty good significant amount of the pie when that search volume is over that, right? Now, if you're wondering, like, what are my favorite markets or like primary markets I have to stay in, for me personally, I don't go into anything outside of this. Not saying that you can't win with electronics, widgets, gadgets, you know, other things. Like these are, here's the reason why I did this. You guys, we talked about long-term wealth, right? We talked about asset building. I don't care what the economy looks like, because we know there's going to be an economy shift here pretty soon. People are still going to buy stuff for their pets. People aren't going to be like, man, you know what? I just got this dog. Um, I don't need to, like, you know, I need to transport it, but you know what? I'm not going to get like the recommended, you know, dog cage to transport my dog. Like, I'm just let them tear up my car. That's not going to happen, right? People are going to continue to have babies, and people are going to continue, those babies are going to continue to grow up to be kids, right? Like medical, like the medical niche isn't going to disappear, right? Like all this stuff. Personally, for me, I love the hobby niche. I love home and garden, and I love sports and fitness, right? Like these are like all these markets here are things that are never going to change no matter what the economy looks like. So for me personally, I recommend that you stick into these markets. If you're taking notes, I would jot that down because this is pretty pivotal in my personal opinion for you to stay in for long-term success. All right. Now let's talk about our target market. This is pretty important in my personal opinion for a couple of different reasons, but more importantly, the whole goal of like going through this process here is to identify like where someone potentially sits at as your ideal customer, right? To identify like, hey, is this someone that could possibly fall into the upper middle class income bracket? And the thing and the reason why we want to do that, now, if you guys have watched my free video on YouTube, Facebook used to have a part of audience insights that allows you to do this, but they removed it because the whole like issue with the Senate, right? But there's still a way for us to identify that information, as well as get a really great idea of what our customer looks like long before we decide to sell to them. We're just going to use different parameters to do so, okay? And I'm going to cover exactly what I'm talking about. But the reason why we want to do this, guys, is because we want to be able to get in front of people that have the buying power to purchase our products without having to think about their bank account, right? Like if you're trying to sell, like, you know, let's just say, for example, I used this analogy at one time when I gave a presentation. Like you would, and this is by no means like make anybody feel bad or nothing like that, but like you would never find like a Ferrari dealership in like the hood, right? Like the like the low income housing. You wouldn't find a Ferrari dealership sitting there, like a Mercedes-Benz dealership. Like you wouldn't find nothing like that in that particular type of market. Why? Why would you never do that? Because that's not your ideal customer. So if companies and businesses in large organizations are having that same thought process from an offline perspective, what makes you think that you shouldn't be doing that from an online perspective? You probably should, right? That sounds important. So here's the thing: we want to identify, like, hey, if I were to sell this product, who is already naturally attracted and looking at this product that could potentially buy it? So we want to get people that's in this particular like income class, right? And there's specific metrics that we can look at that can kind of give us some foresight of, is someone going to potentially fall into this class, right? Now, again, I might lose some people kind of talking about this because we're talking about like real marketing right now. But just kind of bear with me. Out of all this stuff that you see here and why like people in the upper middle class are awesome to market to, the main thing I love about these people is I already talked about them obviously having like money, right? But there's two things along with that. People that are in this income class, like generally they have these type of behaviors, right? They see stuff, and if they like it, they buy it, right? They're more emotional shoppers. Those are the people. Like I looked at the sale that I had the other day. Like actually, no, excuse me. The visits that took the product that I sold that took 3 visits was actually the $2,700 sale I had the other day. The $4,500 sale that I had was someone that literally came to my site once from Bing and they bought, like one time. Like in my opinion, like, you know, that had to be a little emotional decision. Like they seen it, it was a great offer, great price, they bought it, right? But the other thing I love about these people is that they have an average monthly disposable income of $700 a month. Like typically people that fall into this income class have that type of like income that's disposable. If you don't know what disposable income means, that means how much money do you have after all your bills are paid every single month. When you're getting in front of someone in that type of prospect, like it's amazing, because like if you're selling a $500 product and you already know that the people that you're selling to could afford it, like of course, like you should assume that you shouldn't have that big of a challenge like getting conversions, because that person can already like afford to actually get it, right? So how is it that we get this information? I already kind of hinted to it a little bit already. Facebook Audience Insights. We're going to put in our country that we're actually marketing to. So, you know, whatever country that you're looking to sell at, that's where you're going to start at. Obviously, in this example, we're going to use the US. We're going to put in our interest is going to be where we put in our product, and how we're going to get this information to understand the type of person that we're going to be selling to is evaluating the age, relationship status, and education level. And I'll explain why that's important. So one of the things I did was I did a comparison between like fidget spinners and electric fireplaces, so you guys can understand why I would have never sold this product outside of the fact that it's a low ticket product, right? So if you see here, we put in United States, fidget spinner in the intersection, then we clicked on demographics, right? And so if you look at the demographics, the core demographics of this particular product is that majority of the marketplace, like males, it's well over 50%, females, it's like roughly 50%, right? Relationship status, this is actually kind of funny here. Like, so here's the thing about relationship status and why this is important. And actually, let me even go back to why age is important, right? Obviously, someone that's a little bit older is a little bit more mature. They've probably been working in their career a little bit longer. Hence, they probably have more money. Let's just keep things simple. Somebody that's 40 years old probably has way more money, has probably access to credit, can probably get approved with financing if you're offering that on your store, versus someone that's 18 years old. Most like, I want to say probably 95% of 18 years old. Now I'm just throwing this random number out there, so don't try to quote me on this. But I would say about 95% of 18-year-olds have no idea what the heck credit is. They probably don't have a credit line. They're probably just getting started with their job. You know, like they're not making as much money. So my goal is to get in front of an audience that's a little bit more mature, because they're going to have a little bit more money. Does that make sense? You guys following that? Like, I mean, like I know I'm making it sound like too simple, but I mean, these are things that most people don't do. All right. So make sure that the audience is a little bit more mature. Next, we want to evaluate like the relationship status of the people that are already actively looking for the products online. Now, again, in this example with relationship status, the thing is, again, same thing like with age. Someone that's married, if you guys didn't know, like married households or people that are married outperform people that are single significantly in terms of how much income is made per household. I can't remember the exact numbers off the top of my head. And if you don't believe me, just go and research it for yourself. Married people generate a significant amount more money than single people. Even if it's just one person in the household working, but they're married, they outperform single people dramatically. So we can see in this example, obviously this is a good percentage. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. But it can obviously be significantly better if you're looking at like, should I go in this niche versus another niche, right? Next is education level. So this is also a statistic that's proven, whether you like it or whether it's not, or you don't like it. People that have a college education tend to make more money than people that don't. Now, I didn't finish college. I went, but I didn't finish. So that's not saying that that has to be true, but statistically speaking, people with a college education dramatically outperform people that don't have one. That's just a fact. All right. So let's compare that fidget spinners to like electric fireplaces, right? We can see a huge shift from the left side now to the right side, well over 50% of the market, almost 61%. It's closer to the ages of like 30 to 45. So that's super positive. Along with that, relationship status, 62% of people are married that are already like in this specific audience, so that are already actively looking for these products and stuff online. And then 61% have a college education. All right. So what are the core demographics that we're looking for our ideal customers with the products that we want to sell? We want the age to, be roughly around 35 to 64. Because again, the older someone is, the more mature they are, the more money they potentially have. Relationship status. We definitely have to have the relationship status as close to 50%, if not greater than 50%, because in most cases, obviously, like it's a double income. People are reporting as married because they, are, and there's a lot of more money coming in the house, right? Education. We already talked about college or grad school. If it's college educated or grad, most of those people, those are good things. Now, the last one, again, depending on your, thought process, it's just kind of statistically proven women spend more money than men, right? Like you guys like shopping more, you guys buy more stuff. So if you're selling the majority of women, that's awesome. That's amazing. Some of my best performing niches are, selling to women, and I don't use any of the, products, but they're great customers. So getting in front of women are awesome. So that's like a little bonus, right? So another really cool thing is that you guys might not have noticed this, but one of the things that Facebook has now is this new thing called New Audience, where it actually shows you how many people are actually circulating through their ecosystem that are active people. So if we were to compare that like fidget spinners to electric fireplaces, you would see here electric fireplaces significantly outperforms. Now, again, with Facebook Audience Insights, we're not using it because we want to run ads. We're using it exactly because of how it sounds. Audience Insights, to get an insight of our existing audience that's already on the internet. Okay. So this is super duper important because, in terms of just using the tool, but this is also just like an extra bonus just to kind of understand, how much of the audience is already actively online on Facebook outside of like Google. Right. So again, in case anyone's like listening to this, you're like, man, Ernest, that none of that made sense. Well, the only thing and the reason why we want to do that and why determining the right target market matters is because we want to get in front of customers that have the buying power to actually purchase without thinking about their bank account, right? Like, does that make sense? You guys kind of following that? All right. I'm gonna take a sip of water here, and I'm gonna get into dropship suppliers. So I know there's a couple people raising their hands and asking questions and stuff. Hold your hand, or I said hold your hand. Don't hold your hand to the end, but hold your question to the end because we're gonna dig into that here shortly. All right. Whatever your question is, if I don't answer it already. So I'm just taking a sip of water, and we're going to now get into dropship suppliers. All right. So here's the scoop. Okay. Don't overcomplicate this process, please. All right. If you've been following me by any means, right, this process does not change. Okay. This is literally what I do every single time I want to develop a list of suppliers for any particular niche. All right. I'm not chasing all these other strategies and stuff that you see people out there have. I'm literally following this core process every single time. Number one, I'm going to go out and I'm going to find people that are actively already selling the products. Guys, stop trying to guess with this stuff. Go out and find your competitors, see who's already actively selling the products already. Number two, I'm going to identify the different competitors that I have, like how are they actually selling these products? Do they have a physical storefront? Do they have a physical location? Do they have a warehouse, a showroom, a store? Like, are they telling people that they're shipping the product directly from them? Are they saying that the product's going to come from the supplier or the manufacturer, or, they don't have any products in stock or anything like that, right? Because if they don't do any of those things, if they don't have a physical location, if they're not like driving traffic to their physical location, if they're not saying that they have a warehouse, that means in order for that product to get fulfilled when someone purchases it, they're most likely drop shipping. Okay. Again, I know this concept wants to be overcomplicated. Don't overcomplicate this. I'm gonna walk you guys through exactly what I'm talking about here shortly, but this is the process I do every single time. I promise you, if anybody's working with me one-on-one, which clearly there's a lot of people that do that, and people are paying a lot of money for me to go through this process with them, right? Like I'm walking you guys through what I'm doing so you don't have to do that. All right. So let's dive into like what that kind of looks like. All right. So in the process of like researching like electric fireplaces, this is one of the sites I came up across. Right. And so this site in particular says Home Square Cymax is one of the fastest growing online. What do they say they sell their products? Online, not offline, not a retail store, online furniture retailers. Right. And they say that they're a leader in online sales. They say they do X amount of sales, blah, blah, blah. Right. I don't care about how many sales they're doing. I care about like where are they actually saying that their products are being sold, right? Because now what we can do is we can literally go through the site. I can go to whatever category or niche it is that I'm going into and see all the brands that they're actually working with and then contact all those brands directly, right? And set up dropship agreements. Now, in the process of also researching electric fireplaces, this is another site, electricfireplacedirect.com, where some of your competitors, they'll literally have brand sections where they'll list all the brands they're actually working with. And guess what, guys? All we got to do is obviously notate all those brands and then reach out to them. Okay. Now, there's some other things that need to happen prior to that so you have a high success rate. Don't just start calling like these companies because I'm going to tell you right now, they're going to tell you no. And you could challenge me on that if you want to, and then you could come back later and it's like, Ernest, I should have listened to you. All right. Because there's a process in order to get approved. Right. But pending that you've done the process that I covered to get approved. Right. Here's a list of suppliers for this particular niche. And here's how the conversation will go. Let's just say, for example, I reached out to Amonte, right? So I would say, hey, Amonte, this is Ernest. I'm with Electric Fireplaces USA .com, and we're looking to expand our current product catalog. We're not looking to set up any type of payment terms. We'd actually like to prepay all of our orders, and we're just looking to build a solid business relationship. Can you tell me how we can go about setting up a dropship account? That is it. I didn't call and say I was a drop shipper. I didn't call and say, hey, can I buy the products at wholesale? What can you do for me? Like none of that. I presented myself with the aspect of, hey, we're expanding our current product catalog. So before you actually make the call, one of the things that you'll want to do is set up what I refer to as a demo store. There's also some additional research that you'll have to do just to kind of understand what type of supplier, because obviously not all suppliers are created equal, just so you can play a little bit of offense when you reach out. But those are some other, kind of like things that you can kind of learn as you kind of go through like, the process and stuff. But here's what I do every single time, right? Now, here's the other thing. One of the things that happened as I was kind of doing this over the last couple of years, I actually developed a shortcut. I used to tell people there wasn't a shortcut to this process. Would you guys be okay with me sharing you like the shortcut of how to find like a lot more like dropship websites that are drop shipping out there? Would you guys be okay if I shared that with you? Put yes in the chat box if you're like, yo, Ernest, give me the shortcut to get more suppliers and more competitors that are doing this. You guys, I got to have at least 10 yeses. I got to know that you guys got a pulse. I need to know that you guys are alive. Alex said, yes, dang it. All right, cool. So here's the thing. I didn't even know this was a shortcut until like I was working with someone one-on-one. They're like, yo, Ernest, that's cool, man. Like you literally did that in like 2 minutes. I was like, man, I didn't realize that was like really important. Sometimes I do stuff and don't realize like the impact of it. But let me continue, right? So the shortcut to actually like expanding your list very, very quickly and finding other competitors that are already doing it so you can find more niche or find more products and or potentially uncover other niches is using these two tools right here. So the first one is called SimilarWeb and the next one is Alexa. So you guys might have heard me talk about this in the beginning before we got things kicked off, but these two tools are super duper amazing and I'm gonna cover why that is. So the first one was SimilarWeb. When you plug this tool in, what it's going to do is whatever site that you give this tool, it will go out on the internet and find a bunch of other similar websites that's related to this one. Now, I just use the free version of this tool. That's what you see here, the free version. I'm not saying you need to use the paid version, and I'm not recommending you pay for it. I just use the free version still. I don't even pay for it. So with the free version in and of itself, it's going to give you 10 of the top websites that are all related to that core site. So in the process of putting in like electricfireplacedirect.com, they actually recommended efireplacestore.com, this other electric fireplace something.com, Martin Blaze, Gas Log Guys, like a bunch of other Northern Country Fire, right? Like a bunch of other websites right away where I could immediately, boom, pull them up in another tab, see who they're working with outside of the core website that I've already found, and literally just jot down the other suppliers that they're working with outside of the one that I already found out about, right? So you find one good competitor, you can leverage this tool like to literally uncover multiple within just a couple seconds, right? And then also with Alexa, same exact thing. You go on Alexa, you put in the website. Again, just use the free version. Don't use the paid version. I'm not saying necessarily not pay them. I don't pay them, so I'm just saying you don't necessarily have to, right? But the great thing I like about using both of these, so you see how like with Alexa, when we put that in, it gave us this website, Cozy by the Fire, portable electric or portablefireplace.com. But those results are different from like SimilarWeb. So they both work kind of like the same exact way, but each is most likely going to give you different results. So in the free version of Alexa, they only give you 5, so not as many, but SimilarWeb gives you 10 the last time I actually used this tool, right? So we don't really have time to cover that, but let's get into traffic, all right? Because we need to make sure that you guys get some good quality traffic, you guys get paid. But were those two tools kind of cool? You guys, kind of appreciate me kind of sharing that with you guys. I know it was great when I actually learned about them and how to leverage them. So hopefully you guys got some value out of that too. I'm trying to go through as much content as possible. It's kind of hard to pack everything in when you got a limited amount of time. But hopefully, I know you guys are getting some really good nuggets. So let's get some quality traffic and let's get you guys paid, right? So you guys have already heard me talk about Google Ads, running PLAs. PLA stands for product listing ads, right? So inevitably, this is the shopping network on Google as well as the shopping network on Bing. They actually work the same exact way, which is really awesome. So when you guys learn how to successfully do it on one platform, you can literally take that knowledge and experience and implement it on the other, right? But has anyone ever felt like this trying to launch Google Ads? Anyone ever go into the interface and be like, yo, like, I want to run an ad, but I have no idea what I'm doing? Anybody ever felt like that? Someone said yes. I know. Even sometimes when I get on new platforms, I'm just like, man, this looks cool, but man, I am stuck like Chuck right now. Derek said all the time. We don't want you feeling like that after this next segment, all right? So here's what I'm going to cover, right? There's 3 core strategies that I specifically implement when running Google Ads. One is called the Google Cannon strategy, and that's what we're going to be progressing with today. Another one is called the short stack funnel, and the other one's called the triple domino funnel, okay? The last 2 are a lot more advanced. So I wouldn't even have enough time to actually cover that for you. Like literally, I kind of take some hours when I'm doing this with people to make sure they fully understand the full concept. But specifically, the first strategy I'm going to cover with you guys is applicable no matter what type of products that you're selling, right? Doesn't matter if you're selling low ticket products or high ticket products. This is a really awesome strategy that you can apply that can help you scale specifically single products that are actually converting really well already, okay? So specifically with this, right? We're going to cover campaign management, campaign creation, bidding strategies, and then scaling. All right. So if you're taking notes, these are the 4 core competencies that we're going to cover through this next segment. All right. So a couple things along with that. In my personal opinion, the only type of campaign that we should do is, aside from like doing manual bidding, because specifically with the Cannon strategy, we got to use a smart campaign. Now, I'm going to get into some other things that we're not going to use specifically in the smart settings, but the only type of smart campaign, if you decide to run one, should be either maximize clicks or manual bidding, okay? Maximize clicks or manual bidding. Do not do target ROAS. Do not do any of the other options that you have. Those are the only 2. So either in your campaign options, you're either going to go manual, right? Google calls it creating a campaign without a goal or objective. The other option is doing a smart campaign. Then it gives you a couple options to choose from. In this particular example, running this Cannon strategy, you're going to choose maximize clicks, all right? Now, the other thing, don't select any of these campaigns or campaign options for new stores. Don't turn on enhanced CPC. Don't turn on accelerated bidding, and don't turn on smart goals. Don't turn on any of that stuff, right? The reason why is because unless you have margin, unless you have like, unless you don't, because obviously you don't really know your margins or understand your business if you're just launching this. And even if you do, you don't have good metrics or data that Google can actually rely on in order to actually maximize those settings. Those settings, in my personal humble opinion, and obviously you guys know any of the top marketers that you guys know, I'm like hanging with at events, right? So with that being said, yes, those settings and stuff can help you later down the road. But if you got a brand new Pixel with Google, you got to be able to warm that sucker up in order to get it to optimize effectively. Okay, so start off your bidding strategy with maximize clicks or manual for everything, and scale up the bids as needed based off performance, because it's much easier to win this way and have greater CPAs. All right, so let's see here. I don't have enough time to cover everything on here, but the one thing I'm going to talk to you guys about is specifically like negative keywords. All right. So with negative keywords, these are pretty much phrases and words that you tell Google not to display you for, right? And so the more negative keywords that you can actually give Google for your campaigns, the better that it's actually going to start continually to optimize that particular pixel in that campaign to go out and find more of your ideal customers, right? It's kind of like feeding the beast, right? So the great thing about that is there's a couple different ways to do it, but there's only two real ways that I really expect people to kind of like manage their keywords. One is going to be exact match, and one of it's going to be phrase match. All right, and I'm going to cover exactly what those two things are. So inevitably, as your products are getting triggered in your shopping campaigns, and the reason why I love shopping products is Google is going to literally take the phrases and words that are actually convert or people are actually putting in and put you in front of those people. So if you're selling, in this example, like a website that has snowboards, right? And now let's say hypothetically with that specific word or phrase, rather, best snowboards for 2019, you start getting some data, you're looking in your campaign, you're like, man, I'm getting a lot of traffic for this phrase and people are coming to my site, but nobody's converting, right? You got like 200, 300 people coming to your website, nobody's converting. Now, the thing is that obviously you don't want to not get traffic for snowboards because that's your core product, right? And let's say, hypothetically speaking, it's like you're getting also traffic for best snowboards for 2019 for spring. Like that's another word, right? That you're getting traffic for. But when people come in through that phrase, like people converting, they're just not converting for this phrase. Now, we don't want to spend traffic on stuff that's not converting. And we need to let Google know, like, hey, Google, like this phrase isn't really working. Find some more stuff for me that is. So if you take and put that in a bracket, right, you take that phrase, put it around a bracket, what that would do is that will tell Google to block that phrase or keyword from your campaign, right? So it'll still let you get traffic for everything else. It just blocks that specific phrase, all right? And I know I kind of went off like, didn't say everything that's on here word for word, but this kind of covers it. Obviously, I'm just kind of talking because I'm like passionate about this stuff, right? So if you're taking notes, like take notes on what you see there. But that's what exact match means. It means it blocked this exact phrase. Like match this up. If someone puts it in the search results, don't show me for this particular phrase, all right? Next, you have phrase match. All right. So phrase match means you tell Google you want to block any type of keyword or phrase containing, what's in that parentheses, right? So an example is, again, we're going to stick with like the snowboard website. So let's say you have a brand called Liquid Force and it has terrible margins. You're getting a ton of traffic for it, but it's just not converting. You're like, you know what? I just don't want any traffic for Liquid Force, but obviously you still want traffic for all your other products that's on your site and brands that you work with, right? So what you do is you put Liquid Force in parentheses that you see here, like quotation marks, not parentheses, quotation marks. And what that's going to do is going to block all keywords and phrases containing Liquid Force. So you never get any type of traffic for that. The beauty behind this, again, is because Google now has identified that because you gave them the data. They will now just go out and re-optimize your current campaign to go out and find more and more people outside of the scope of what you put in the phrase match, right? So super duper important. So with that being said, this is actual site that I was running for generators, right? And so you guys can see like the difference between exact match and phrase match. So you guys can see like a real live example. So in this case, like, 1,000 Coleman generator was just like one that was just terrible, right? I was just like, you know what? I don't want anybody coming to my site that puts in 1,000 Coleman generator or any phrases or nothing like that containing that because it just wasn't going to convert well. So I put that as a phrase match, right? No words or phrases related to that is going to actually come to my site. But specifically with the 1,000 watt Brussels generator, right? This is a product that does convert, just not with these particular phrases. So if someone puts in that specific phrase and then like the serial number or something like that, we just weren't getting any conversions. I still was converting on 1,000 watt Brussels generators, but just not 1,000 watt Brussels generator, the plural version, right? And again, how did I know this? I literally just went into my campaign. I clicked in the search terms, and Google gives you all that data, and I just shoot that over to them, right? And then they just re-optimize everything and bring me more and more traffic. So if you've never ran like ads inside of Google before, some of this might not make sense, but just kind of like store it for now, and then like you got it later down the road. All right. So phase one. Now we're getting into campaign creation. I'm gonna walk you guys through this too, like through like live examples. All right. So number one, obviously we got to create a campaign. So what we're going to do is we're going to create an all product campaign. We're going to select a smart campaign with a goal of website traffic. Then we're going to choose our bidding option as maximize clicks. All right. Then what we got to do is we got to segment our campaign through a product cascade. And I'll explain what I mean by that. Then we're going to review all the performance of all the products, right? And we're going to monitor the phrases and keywords that we're getting triggered for it, and consistently turn the non-relevant ones to negative keywords, right? And then obviously identify our converting winners, like specific products, because we're going to put those into a separate campaign, okay? So this is what we're going to do to actually launch the campaign and start getting traffic. All right, so let's walk through that and see what that looks like. So we inside of our campaign, we're going to click website traffic, right? Boom. Choose maximize clicks. Don't choose anything else. Next, we're going to set our campaign priority to high. This is one of the power switches. And I actually didn't get a chance to get into the power switches. So there's a couple different switches that you can turn on in your campaign. One of them is actually campaign priority. Another one, I think I'm going to get to it here shortly, so I won't say it. But if I miss it, I'll bring it back up. But let's just make sure, for the sake of where we are, keep it as campaign priority high. Now we got to create a product cascade. We need to segment all of the products in this campaign so we can actually see everything, right? If you're brand new and you go into your Google Ads account, you wouldn't even know that this actually existed, because the button doesn't even show up unless you hover over this exact spot. So I'm actually saving you some time and pain from having to do this on your own. So step two, now in order to actually get this product cascade created so we can see all of our products, when we click the little plus sign right here that says add subdivision, it's going to bring us to this window, right? So now we click this little drop down window. We're going to click item ID, click the little checkbox right here. So all of our products get displayed. Obviously, I'm not showing the products here, but all the products get pulled out here. Then we click save without editing bids. Lastly, all of our products are now going to be segmented down out so we can see the performance of how everything is working across the board. So we can see impressions, clicks. So you can see in this particular campaign straight out the gate, this sucker was cooking, right? Like this brought in like 4 conversions very, very quickly at a 1.85% conversion rate, which is like really nice for a high ticket e-com product, right? So along with that, right, in order to actually convert and turn our keywords into negative keywords, what's going to happen is all you have to do is click the left-hand side here on keywords in that same campaign, right? And right now we're on negative keywords right now. But what you're going to do is you're going to click on search terms, and then you're going to evaluate obviously like your search terms and convert whatever that you want into like a negative keyword, right? In this case, you can see it's kind of small, but this is LG and then Panasonic. Those particular brands were getting triggered in this campaign that obviously weren't products that I carried for that particular niche. So I didn't want to pay for traffic that I obviously couldn't convert, right? So those, any words, phrases, anything containing LG and Panasonic aren't being triggered in this specific campaign, all right? So that's phase one of launching the campaign, all right? Phase two, in order to really, really get this thing cooking, is our goal of doing this whole cannon strategy is to immediately, like, shotgun the algorithm and say, hey, we're here to play, right? But out of that, we want to be able to find our winner, like the one that's converting the best, similar to what you guys seen there with the one product I had that was like cooking. We want to identify that product, because now we can actually take that product and put it in its own individual campaign, right? So that's what we want to do, to scale a winner, like just to scale a single product, put that product in its own campaign. We're going to take our winning product, create a single campaign for that. Now we're going to switch our bidding to manual CPC. The reason why we want to switch it to manual is because we got the data. Like, you got the data. You know what the CPC is, right? You know what you're paying on average. So don't keep paying on on, there's no reason to pay higher if you don't have to. So with manual, like you can literally set that cap for yourself in terms of like what you are already paying on average. So use that average CPC that you're already paying, because you can have, obviously this gives you full control over your campaign now, and Google's not going to try to increase that if there's no need, right? Now we're also going to double whatever you set for your budget in the first campaign. You're going to double whatever that budget is, so you can start a lot more aggressively. And here's the thing, like that might sound like a little scary, like, oh my God, you just went from like, $100 per day where you got one single product, you're saying you want to spend $200 per day. Well, it doesn't matter, because you already know the data. Like you already have the information. Like that last product that we were looking at for me, had a average cost per acquisition of $6. Like, of course I would pay more money so I can get more traffic. That's inevitably how it works. That doesn't mean that you're going to spend more money, because you already know what your conversion rate is, because you already have the data. Lastly, we're just going to monitor our search phrases and keywords to obviously convert those over to negative keywords, so we can continually optimize the actual campaigns to get better quality traffic. Now, lastly, let's say hypothetically, like you're someone that's already in phase 2, because I know there's a couple people that's in here that's right there. They're like, man, I'm hitting the ceiling, Ernest. What do I do next? Now we can actually activate the third power switch, which is actually enhanced CPC. So in the beginning, you guys heard me tell you, don't touch it, don't turn it on, don't do anything with it. Well, that's because you don't got no data to actually maximize it. That's why you're not being able to get the full control of what it actually has the ability to do. The other thing is, don't leverage this extra feature if you don't have at least 30 sales for the product that you have, right? Because if you turn it on too soon, you won't have enough data to actually be effective with it, because inevitably what you're telling Google to do is spike up the CPC to help you jump in front of a potential competitor if it feels like it's going to earn you an extra spot or two in the auction to help you rank better amongst your competitions, all right? And if you turn it on beforehand, like I mentioned here, you're just going to be paying a much higher CPC than you were before, and you're going to be like, man, it's not working, all right? So out of all that stuff, what the heck did we just do? All right, because I know I covered a lot of information there. But what we did was we created a all product campaign that's now going to allow us to accelerate our exposure inside the shopping network. Okay, so boom, like we set up the campaign, we shotgun it, bam, like here we are. Let's go, Google. Like let's destroy some stuff, right? Next, right, we lowered our risk of paying higher CPAs by creating single product campaigns with manual bidding. So as soon as you know you got the winners, like as soon as you see the stuff converting, like, boom, let's turn that into a single product campaign. Let's start manually bidding with that and raising our budget as needed, based upon like what we got coming in from a conversion perspective. And so inevitably what we've now done is we've kind of forced Google to give us traffic that has a higher likelihood to convert, with very clear targeted campaign types, because we've now got enough data to keep feeding that stuff into our negative keywords, which actually brings up another point. In the single product campaigns, if you have like keywords that you already know that you aren't converting really well on, like I would just take that single product and put those keywords, those negative keywords, into that same campaign for the single product, so you're not like paying double on stuff that you already know doesn't convert. That was like a little side note nugget right there. But what does this kind of look like in the campaign? You can see here with this particular campaign, this is a budget that's at $13,000 per day. This product had 1.4 million impressions, and you can see here 41 conversions. I paid $13 per conversion, and this particular product had an average order value of like $700, right? And this was actually just for like a single week. So I did like $28,000 for this particular product in a week with 41 conversions, and I spent $535, right? So that's the beauty behind like really maximizing this stuff really, really well, right? And it had 2% conversion rate, which is crazy for high ticket e-com, right? So inevitably, like, I know a lot of people kind of ask me like, Ernest, why Google versus Facebook? And here's the whole thought process, right? Like you can drive customers that actually have intent about a product versus like someone that isn't already actively looking to buy. The greatest example I like to share with people, and I've been using this pretty regularly recently, is like, let's say, for example, you work in Verizon, right? So someone comes in and like, hey, let's just say your name is John. Hey, John, I'm looking for the iPhone XR, the 500 gigabyte with the OtterBox black case, and an extra set of AirPods, right? So you're John, you're like, oh man, this is awesome, cool. So you go to the back, you grab the iPhone, you grab the outer box, you grab the AirPods, you ring them up, and customer leaves, and like you're fired up. You just sold like $2,000 worth of merch, and you're like high fiving all your other boys. You're like, yo, I just killed it, man. I slam dunked it today. And at the end of the day, like, what did you really do, right? Like, the customer came into the store, they told you exactly what they wanted, they pointed it out to you, you went and got it, and you rang them up. Like, did you really like sell that person, or did you really just provide them with the thing that they were already looking for? So that's exactly the difference between Google versus Facebook. Like, Google, I'm literally just hanging out over there with all the products I sell, and I'm just like, oh, you looking for this? Oh, I got it. Oh, and guess what? I got a better deal than anywhere else you could buy it on the internet. That's it. Right? Like, so I'm not working as hard as you guys think I am, right? The other thing is, if you've never like ran ads or done any type of advertising, when you're running shopping ads, like, there's no ad creative. With Facebook, you got to learn how to write copy. You got to figure out what type of ad set that you want to do. You got to figure out what type of ad type. Is it going to be a video ad? Is it going to be a photo ad? Is it going to be a slideshow? Right? Like, all that different stuff. With Google, they do all the creative for you. They set everything up and push you in front of their network. That's it, right? And then lastly, you can control the type of person that comes to your site, and the budget accordingly to where people are at in the buying cycle. So those are two other funnels that I don't have the opportunity to cover with you guys today specifically. But the great thing is, like, you can still control the type of person, because we already talked about the negative phrase matches, the exact matches, like giving Google the data. So when you have that information, could you imagine if you were running Facebook ads and you knew the exact person that wouldn't actually buy, and you just give Facebook that audience to say, hey, Facebook, don't get me in front of these type of people, get me in front of these type of people. But guess what? Facebook doesn't give you the ability to do that. But guess who does? Google does, right? It's much less stressful, in my personal opinion, inside of Google world, right? And so specifically in some of like the search phrases and stuff like that, this is where it gets pretty crazy. Like, you go into your search terms, and like, you could literally see like numbers where you got 700% conversion rate, 500%, 500%, like crazy conversion rate numbers, right? Like, this is literally inside of like one of my campaigns. When I actually run my workshops, I pull up my ad campaign, so you guys don't think I'm just like making stuff up or fabricating it. Like, at my workshops, I log into my accounts and show you guys this stuff live, right? And on top of that, I literally walk you through how to do it there, and we record everything so you can take it home with you and study it later down the road, right? That's why a lot of people in my workshops really have like massive success, because we're isolated for an entire weekend where I'm showing everything, anything and everything you want to know. I will pull it up and give you access to, like, the suppliers I'm working with, the margins that I have, how it is I'm improving margins, how it is I'm getting sales like this. Like, I walk all the way through that entire process for you guys, so you can see it actually happening live, right? But inevitably, like, this is what you need to do in order to like kick things off and like set yourself up for long-term success, right? We find products that are being actively sold that people are looking for on a regular, consistent basis. We identify to make sure that, hey, like, if I did decide to sell this, like, are people going to be able to potentially afford it that could? Next, we need to find suppliers, obviously, to set up agreements with them to make sure we can drop ship it. Lastly, we obviously got to sell the products and get paid, but we can do that through Google running the right type of campaigns to get a really good return on ad spend, right? And inevitably, like, through this entire process, like, I tell people, like, what we do is we're supplying the demand that's already there, right? Like, in my personal opinion, people do it a whole lot backwards, right? Like, they try to demand the supply. Like, on Facebook, like, you're trying to get someone to stop what they're already doing and demand that you get your attention, so now you can get them to your site to potentially sell them something. Versus, like, what I'm doing is I'm supplying the demand that's already there. Like, they're already going to Google looking for the stuff. They're already actively on Facebook, because we already used the audience insights, and so we can retarget them specifically easily on that platform. But more importantly, we already know that they can potentially like buy the products before they even get there, right? So, like, do you guys actually see like the power of like drop shipping? You guys see how this like whole process, when put together, like, can systematically set you up for long-term success? Do you guys see that? Hopefully you guys got a couple things out of learning today. Someone said yes, yes. Someone said yes. I like the long yes. That was cool, right? But inevitably, like, the first step. So if you're like someone like, oh my gosh, Ernest, that was a lot of information. What's the first step? First step is mastering like product selection, right? Like, the stuff that we talked about in the beginning, like finding products that are being actively sold, and then building around that. Then it's hiring and leveraging like your actual time, right? And then you can really truly like earn your freedom, right? So would you guys actually like me to cover like the entire system, like what I have put together, like with high ticket ecom, like for building like a successful high ticket dropshipping business? Would it be okay if I share with you guys the rest of like this process? If you guys got a little bit of time, you guys okay? Kamar said yes. Diane said yes. Yes, please. Absolutely. Okay, cool. So here's the scoop, right? I'm gonna cover like literally this entire system for building your own ecom business, right? And as I was kind of getting started for today, actually, this was one of the workshops that kicked off, my journey with like wanting to like bring people in person and teach in person. But I told him I was going to do this today, and it was just like, Ernest, tell everybody, say what's up, tell them to come join the family. I was like, cool, yeah, that's so. This is down in Atlanta, and this is cool. Like, this is a buddy of mine, Muhammad. We literally, so like, if you guys are like already have like stores that are up or ready to get traffic, I would literally log into my accounts and set up your ads and everything right there at the event. And within like, it wasn't even like 12 hours. I think within like that night or the very next day, Muhammad already had sales coming in through the ads and stuff that we set up at the event, right? But pretty much like there's kind of two ways that you guys can move forward from this point, right? You guys can obviously try and navigate the dropshipping jungle on your own, right? Like figure out which tools to use, which apps, how to set up, your own high ticket e-com system, which product's going to make you the most profit, how to get approved with suppliers, how to get people to convert to your store, how to train your VAs, that whole, you can do that on your own, right? And the thing is, I always ask people like, what's the cost of trying to figure this out on your own? Like weeks, months, time, energy. Like, people are like, oh, I'll just start on YouTube. I mean, like, you don't even know if the person on YouTube really is actively kind of doing this stuff. I will personally pull everything up and show you I'm actively doing it versus like what these hypothetical people are that you're actually potentially hoping to learn from, right? So you can put, kind of lose a lot of time through that process, right? Or you could allow me to walk you through the dropshipping jungle kind of step by step. It really is a jungle out there, right? So I know there's like a ton of wise men and women that's on here with us that want to succeed with dropshipping, right? So I want to introduce you guys to high ticket ecom secrets in our system to literally walk you through everything step by step to creating your own ecom ATM. So let's take a look inside of what that actually looks like. But before we do, one of the things was I was actually sitting around some amazing entrepreneurs, right? I was just actually recently hanging out in Greece. Before that, I was in Barcelona. And a question came up not too long ago outside of those events where someone had asked, like, when you see something at a business event, are you the first person to buy? And so without hesitation, I'm like, yo, like, yeah, I'm always first, right? But the craziest part was the head guy that was running everything. He said, you know what? I don't even wait until the speaker's actually done. He said, when I see value in something, like I'm all in, right? So like if you're someone that's just like, hey, Ernest, like, everything you covered is phenomenal. I'm all in. Let's get me through this process. I really want some support to make sure I can be set up for success. I want to give you that opportunity to now be first. So if you're someone that's like, hey, I'm first, Ernest, I want to get connected with you. I'm going to literally give you guys some ridiculous stuff to make sure that you're set up for success, right? So if you're someone that's like, I'm first, put first in the chat box. I got something super duper special for you. Definitely hang around as I kind of cover what those things are. But put that in the chat box. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab the link that you guys see here. So I'm going to just minimize this really quick, grab the link, drop it in the chat box, and then make this full screen again. So let me just drop that in the chat box. So yeah, you guys better, there's like 20 something people that said I'm first. So if you're part of the first 20, there's definitely something really, really crazy I got for you. So hang around, go to the link there. It's going to talk about those crazy things and then just kind of keep me on in the background because it is about to be bonkers what I'm going to cover for you, right? So obviously the core competency of how to do everything step by step, right? So you're going to get my full modulated system to walk you through how to be able to pick successful niches, how to be able to determine the right market, how to form your business correctly. I seen someone ask about business formation in the chat box, how to be able to set up your website, how to get approved with suppliers, how to optimize your site for conversions, how to be able to run traffic, and how to be able to automate that, right? And again, my unlimited traffic module is literally designed for any niche that you're in. So whether you're selling high ticket products, low ticket, if you're selling something that might be like a gray area, so might be like CBD, adult products, something like that, this module will literally cover multiple different traffic sources that you can leverage in order to make sure that you're creating success, right? So like I said, this is just everything kind of broken down. But let me get you guys some bonuses, because aside from the step-by-step process, I want to hook you guys up with some really unique things to make sure that you don't have to have any challenges, right? So number one is I'm going to give you guys my custom created content, so that you can literally, as you're on the phone with suppliers, like they ask a question, here's the frequently asked questions, respond with that answer. When you first have your initial conversation, what to say, how to overcome objections, the whole shebang, you guys will have access to that, plus custom structured content specifically for high ticket e-com stores, right? So you don't have to get overly worried about getting approved with suppliers. I mean, people that follow my process with getting approved with suppliers have a 70 to 80% success rate. 70 to 80%. So that's significantly high, right? You just, like, the only time people aren't getting approved with suppliers is literally they didn't do what I told them to do. I mean, that is straight fact, okay? So I don't want anybody not to do that, right? Then also, I created a traffic secrets program. Now, this is specifically geared towards selling $1,000 and up products. So, right, launching your Google ads successfully, making sure that your site is optimized in the back end, retargeting, Bing ads, SEO, shopping network, the whole shebang, right? So you guys are going to get access to that. And, conservatively, like I mentioned, like, you should be able to see a 5X to 30X return on ad spend. So if you're someone brand new to like e-com and marketing, what does that mean? 5X means that you spend $1 and you made $5. You spend $1, you make $30. That's what return on ad spend means. So on average, again, I'm not saying you guys are going to see like the numbers that I see. That's a little bit, it's going to take a little time to get there, but that's cool to know that it's possible, number one. But number two, to know that you can get a 5X or even like a 10X return on ad spend is obviously pretty unique in and of itself, right? And so, this is actually a photo of another event I ran in Atlanta, where we actually rented tanks. And we actually drove tanks around like this crazy like area out in Georgia somewhere. And I like to have fun, right? But more importantly, I want to make sure that you guys are plugged in and you guys get access to be able to ask me questions and connect with other people that are creating massive success. Like, it was so cool just this week. I wish I would have put those in here for you guys. But like, we have a lady, Emma, that was on a couple sessions ago when I did the last masterclass. She got her first $1,000 sale like this week. We had another guy who just launched his second store, having orders come in. And so like, with the uniqueness behind my private Facebook group, it really is unique. I have someone full-time that literally manages, if someone requests access, to make sure that they're only people that's part of our community, because the stuff that I share in there, I don't want getting out to the public, because it's, you guys, pay to get access to that stuff. So I want to make sure that, it's kept, behind, a wall, right? So you can connect with everyone, network, like people are getting connected offline. It's really cool and amazing to be able to do that. But, having support and insight from experts is obviously critical, I think, in long-term success, right? So when you guys take action, here's what you guys get: my 8-step success system, the custom created content, my traffic secrets program, and VIP access to my high ticket e-com secrets Facebook group, right? But I want to make sure that today is an absolute no-brainer for you guys. And if you guys know me, I don't leave any offer that I have available on the table for people too long, because we like to keep things restricted and limited. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to give you guys access to a recorded masterclass that I did, where you guys can literally see me walk through the training with people personally. Now, this isn't fabricated by any means. Like, if you were to reach out to anyone that actually was in that masterclass from it being recorded, they all paid $5,000 to get access to that. You guys are going to get access to it for free, and it's limited to the first 20 people, all right? Along with that, I'm going to give you guys access to a recording